Okay. So now see here, uh, the arrangement is not exactly same. There are some more additions are there which we are not showing, but which I explained to you. See right now, what happens is you will find here that a reverted gear train is formed. You can see a reverted gear train is formed here, which was what was drawn last time. So from gear A, the drive has gone to gear B. B and C, they are on the same shaft. They are fitted. That means they are integral. They are integral. So whatever is the speed of B, same will be the speed of C. So this entire shaft is rotating with the same speed that of B. So C started rotating. Now the C is connected to D, so there will be some change in the speed. But while doing that, the D is brought in line with A. So if you remember last time reverted gear train, the D gear was brought in line with first A gear. But then their speeds were different. They were not fixed to each other like B and C. Their speeds could be different, but they are in one line. So you can see the way arrangement is done. This shaft is just resting here in the shaft of in the shaft S3, but then between the two there is a bearing. So this is not physically tied to each other. So their speeds will be different. So A will drive B, B and C same gear, same shaft. Then C will drive D, and then you will get some speed here. That means the power comes from, see, this is the input shaft, input to the gearbox. This whole thing is a gearbox. So the power is input to the gearbox. Then power goes from A to B. There is a different speed. B starts rotating. Because of that, C also rotates same speed. Power goes from C to D. D starts rotating, and as a result, S3 rotates, and you get some combination A to B, B to C, C to D, and then so I'll write here first gear A to B to C to D. Power goes from A to B, B to C, C to D, and then you get certain ratio depending on the diameters. Now when that happens, here at the moment the figure is drawn in such a way that E is in contact with everything is in contact, but in reality only one pair is in contact. I have shown C in contact with D, this is in contact, this is in contact, this is in contact, but in reality only one is in contact, others are, all these are not in contact. For the simplicity I have drawn them in contact so that next time when we explain the second gear, that time we want them to be in contact. But in actual practice, all of them are not at the same time they are in contact, is not like that. Only one pair is in contact. So right now C is in contact with D, others are not in contact with their pairs. Now what happens when you want to go to the second gear? So whatever lever arrangement you change, as a result the displacement takes place and this connection is broken and this connection is formed. That means now C is not in contact with D. When you change first gear to second gear, that time C to D connection is broken and E and F they got connected. They are got in mesh. They got in mesh. So now what happens? The power goes from A to B just like last time. B is still rotating just like last time, but instead of power going from C to D like first gear, now the power will go from E to F. And when it goes from E to F, you can see the diameter ratio here and diameter ratio here, there is a difference. So because of this difference, the speed of this will be different than what was the speed for D. And because this is connected to S3, this S3 will rotate by a different speed because of the ratio of these two. Okay, so now the power goes, I'll write here, second gear. Power goes from A to B, A to B. Now from B to E it goes. In fact, B2 is anyway going because it's all fixed. More important is from E to F it goes. A to B, B to E and E to F. So now you get a different speed ratio. And now the output shaft is output shaft. Now the output shaft rotates with a different speed which is higher than earlier speed. So now you are in the second gear. Now when you change the lever and go to the third gear, now what happens? Now this contact is broken and this contact is formed. Now G comes in contact with H. No other no other gears are in contact. A and B is always in contact, but now this has been in contact. So now power goes from A to B, B to G, G to H, and then out. So third gear, A to B, B to G, and G to H. So you will get, because of the diameters are different, you will get a different ratio, and because of that different speed. So now the shaft S3 has started rotating with a different speed, higher speed, because the ratio is such that this diameter has become lesser than this diameter. You can see the diameters are becoming lesser and lesser. That means the speed is going to increase further as the different pairs come in contact. So on the same lines, fourth gear, now this will come in contact. Others are broken. Broken means the contact is broken, and this is in contact. This is brought in contact. So now A to B, B to I to J, and then out. So A to B, B to I to J. This is fourth gear. Fourth gear is like this. A to B, B to I to J, different speed, higher speed, fourth gear. Now I drawn some different arrangement here. Now what happens next? Now this has brought in contact. A K with L and L with M. This is brought in contact. Others are now not in contact. Now see what happens. There is additional gear between. See, between these two shafts. There is one more shaft has come. So if you recollect what was discussed last time, when these two gears were in direct contact, this was clockwise, this was anti-clockwise. But when you add one more gear, then clockwise to anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise to clockwise, so the direction has changed. Direction of this gear has changed because you have introduced one more gear in between. So like that, when you introduce these gears here, this gear when is introduced here, now the power is going to go from A to B, B to K, K to L, additional gear, L, L to M, and then out. What will be the speed? Speed will be depending on the diameter ratio. But what is important is the direction of rotation, whatever was the direction of rotation all the time, now it is going to be opposite of what was there in the case of first, second, third, fourth. Whatever was the direction here, now the direction is going to be opposite because of introduction of additional gear, and that is the reverse gear. So reverse gear, for reverse gear, A to B, B to K, K to L, and L to M. So A, B, K, L, M, this combination is going to give you a reverse direction of rotation for the output shaft. So the gearbox works like this. This is just a line diagram to explain how it works. In reality, there is a different arrangement. Whatever arrangement is made here is such that when you change the gear, operator is just going to shift the lever, and inside whatever is required to happen, just like what we have discussed, only one gear pair comes in contact, the other gear pair gets disconnected. At the same time, although this is making some movement, still you should have the fixing. That means when a particular gear rotates, you want the shaft to rotate. That means there should be some connection between the two. These should be tied to each other. The shaft and the gear must be tied to each other so that when one rotates, the other should rotate. But at the same time, you should slide also if required, because the contacts, you want to make the contact, you want to break the contact, that also should happen. Accordingly, all the arrangement is made. Accordingly, all the design is made, and the lever which is somewhere else, when you operate the lever, the movement of the lever reaches to this place, and it is used for shifting the gears to the necessary extent, and the correct gear combination is brought in contact, and that gives you the necessary speed. We are learning the theory behind it, how it functions. For seeing the actual arrangement, maybe you will require to know the internal details, which is not at the moment our scope. Maybe out of interest you can have a look. You can find out somewhere the section of the automobile gearbox and how it functions with the help of its lever, how the shifting takes place. But that is just out of interest. As far as our study part is concerned, we are supposed to understand the mechanism of how this automobile gearbox works. It is a case of reverted gear train. and this is how it is reverted gear train, because first gear, second, third and fourth, last fourth gear is brought in line with the first gear, and the way it is shown here, the speed of S1 and speed of S3 can be different. They are in one line, but they are not joined physically. They are not tied together. So the speed of S1 will be different from speed of S3. There is a bearing between the two. It is just brought in line, but then speed of this and speed of this could be different. That is what is ensured by this arrangement. So this is the automobile gearbox, how it functions as a case of reverted gear train. Okay. Now the fourth type of gear train, that is the epicyclic gear train, that we will see right now. Epicyclic gear train. Now this gear train is altogether different. Let us write down one or two lines about it. What is epicyclic gear train? When axis of some of the gears in a gear train, perform rotation, such gear train is called as epicyclic gear train. That means here the axis is also going to perform rotation. If you observe all the earlier three types of gear trains, you will find that the axis is going to remain in same position. There could be many number of axes, but then the axis position is not changing any time. Here the axis is going to change its position. See how it is done. So I will draw the gear train called as epicyclic gear train. So you can see that there is gear A, there is gear B here, this is arm. Gear A is fixed on this is one arm, this is one plate, you can see this one plate. On that plate, here gear A is fixed, here gear B is fixed, and there is arm here. Now what is also to be shown is, in this example, suppose I fix this gear arm A. Suppose I fix arm, that means arm A is fixed, it is not allowed to move here and there. So if you do that, and then when you rotate gear A, gear B will rotate, which is a case of simple gear train. When you draw a simple gear train, see we have drawn simple gear train like this earlier. And then we said one rotates like this, other rotates like this. What it means? Their centers are not going to change their position. That means you can see that, you can say that they are fixed. So there is some plate, on that plate you are fixing these gears. Plate is stationary, because we have not drawn all this. It is understood that the plate is stationary, that means the centers are stationary, and then one gear rotates, other gear rotates in the other direction, which is what we already know, simple gear train. Here same diagram is drawn, but this arm A is not fixed. Here it is fixed, here it is not fixed. That means something else must be fixed. So what I will do here is, gear A is fixed. That means gear A is not going to rotate. Gear A is not going to rotate. But arm is free to rotate. Arm is free to rotate about this point. So now what happens? If you are giving a rotation to A, that means if you try to rotate the arm, if the arm is rotated, what will happen to gear B? Gear B will start rolling. like a wheel, which is rolling on the road of a car. So like that, this wheel will go on rolling like this as the arm is rotating like this. It's quite easy to understand. So you are rotating the arm, the wheel be rotating like this, and whatever is happening here, this kind of gear train is called as a compound gear train. You will see the definition says that the axis of some of the gears rotate. Now you can see here which axis is rotating. If you look at the axis of B, what is going to happen to the axis of B? Axis of B is going to move like this. This is how axis of B is going to move. So axis of B is performing rotation. B is performing rotation. Axis of B is performing rotation. Gear B is also rotating about this axis. So gear B is rotating about its own axis, and it is also rotating about the point center of A. That means like something like a planet. See, the Earth is rotating about its own axis, and it is also rotating about Sun. So like that, this is rotating about its own axis, and at the same time it is also rotating about this particular gear A. So it has got a complex motion, and this has happened because the axis of one of the gears is rotating. As per the definition, it is called as epicyclic gear train. So when this happens, how are we going to find out the speeds of different gears? This is a very simple arrangement. We'll find out all the speeds. Like that, epicyclic gear train has got a lot of different arrangements where the axis of gears rotate and they cause rotations of different gears. How do we find out the rotations of all these gears? That we will now study in the next part when we meet. That time we'll see how a epicyclic gear train is working, how to find out the speeds of different gears.